You've heard the hype about ChatGPT, right? I mean, it's been everywhere, absolutely. We're told it's going to revolutionize work, school, basically our entire lives. But what are people really doing with it? We've all got our theories. It's probably just a bunch of coders or maybe students trying to get their homework done. Well, for the very first time, we can actually pull back the curtain and see what's going on. So let's start with a number that's kind of hard to even wrap your head around. Every single day, we send over 2.5 billion messages to ChatGPT. That is an insane fire hose of data. It's like a global conversation happening 29,000 times every single second. And now, a groundbreaking new paper from the National Bureau of Economic Research has actually analyzed this massive conversation. And let me tell you, what they found, it pretty much challenges everything we thought we knew. First, let's just try to grasp the sheer scale of this thing. The speed at which it's been adopted is, well, it's unlike anything we have ever seen before. Just look at this growth curve. I mean, from its launch in late 2022, it just exploded. Projections show that by the middle of 2025, ChatGPT will have over 700 million weekly active users. That's almost 10% of every adult on the entire planet. There is simply no precedent for that kind of global spread. Okay, so we know it's a ton of people, but who are they, really? Well, the study shows this fascinating shift in who's actually using the platform. In the very beginning, this was a heavily male-dominated space. About 80% of users had typically masculine names, but that gender gap, it's pretty much gone. By mid-2025, we're on track for almost perfect gender parity, which just shows how much its appeal has broadened. And what about age? Well, the numbers tell a really clear story. This is a young person's game. Almost half of all messages, 46%, are sent by young adults between 18 and 25. And this isn't just a thing happening in wealthy countries either. The data shows that the fastest growth right now is actually in low and middle-income countries. It's become a truly worldwide tool. Okay, so we know who is using it, but the real question is, how are they using it? The big story has always been that AI is this amazing productivity tool for work. But the data, well, the data tells a very, very different story. Just a year ago, it was a pretty even split between work and non-work stuff. But look at this projected change. By June 2025, non-work messages are expected to absolutely explode to 73% of all use. So yeah, work-related use has grown, but personal use is just skyrocketing. It's becoming the main reason we talk to AI. So if it's not all about work, what in the world are we talking about in those 2.5 billion daily messages? Well, the study breaks it all down into some really clear, simple categories. It turns out when you boil it all down, the vast majority of our chats fall into just 3 big buckets. They make up nearly 80% of all conversations: practical guidance, writing, and seeking information. You could almost call it the trifecta of what we really want from AI. So what does that actually look like? Well, practical guidance is things like asking for a custom workout plan or some how-to advice. And get this, tutoring by itself makes up 10% of all messages. Writing is what you'd expect: editing emails, summarizing stuff, translating text. And seeking information is basically using it as a direct replacement for a web search. And you know that idea that ChatGPT is mainly a tool for coders? Yeah, we can officially call that myth busted. Computer programming accounts for a tiny 4.2% of all messages. The reality is just so much broader and more personal than the old stereotype. And this all leads us to what is maybe the single most powerful idea in the entire paper: a whole new way of thinking about what we're actually trying to get out of these conversations. The researchers split our intentions into 2 really simple categories: asking and doing. So asking is when you want advice to help you make a better decision. You can think of the AI as your co-pilot. Doing is when you want the AI to just perform a task and spit out an answer. Think of it as a worker. Here's the perfect example. Asking is saying, how should I structure this report? You're looking for guidance to make your own work better. Doing is saying, write me a report. You're just outsourcing the whole task. It's a really subtle but super profound difference. And here's the kicker. We spend more time asking than we do doing. Almost half of all our interactions are about getting advice and information to sharpen our own thinking, not just to get a task checked off a list. And that trend is growing. And this quote from the paper says it all. not only are we asking more, but we actually find those conversations to be higher quality. We're getting more value, more satisfaction when we use this thing as a partner to help us think.
So, if we put all of these pieces together, the crazy scale, who's using it, what for, and this whole asking versus doing idea, what does it tell us about the real value of this technology?
The big takeaway is this. The primary value people are getting from ChatGPT right now, it isn't just about automating away our tasks. It's about augmenting our own intelligence. It's decision support. And who's leaning into this asking mode the most? Well, at work, it's highly educated users. It's professionals in jobs that require a ton of knowledge and folks in scientific and technical fields. The very people whose jobs depend on complex problem solving are using AI not as a worker, but as a co-pilot for their own minds. Which really leaves us with this one big, fascinating question. For years, we've been obsessed with the idea of AI as this automated worker that's going to replace jobs. But what if its real, lasting impact is something far more collaborative? What if the future of AI isn't a worker at all, but a co-pilot for all of our decisions?